Hi friends, my name is Sarah, and I'm currently the Intentional Interim Minister with St. Andrew's United Church in Lacombe, Alberta. If you're watching this video, it means that you received the link via the email letter that I sent out to the St. Andrew's Community of Faith. Or you might have found it via our website or our Facebook page, or even this channel itself. No matter what brought you here, welcome. My husband John has graciously shared his YouTube channel, The Accessible Faith Project, with us as a place to share my weekly reflections. There are other videos on this channel which are an opportunity to learn more about the Bible, faith questions, and the like. If you'd like to receive notifications when new videos are posted, you can do so by clicking on the little bell icon that says subscribe and signing up. It's completely free. Those of you who have met me in person likely know that one of the things that I like to do is ask questions. I'm a curious person, and I find that questions are an opportunity to learn more, as well as to invite conversation. Perhaps that is why the Gospel of John has such an appeal for me, for questions seem to be at the heart of many of its stories. When Jesus first called the disciples, Andrew asked where Jesus was staying. Later, Nicodemus asks him how a grown man can enter back into his mother's womb. The Samaritan woman wants to know where she can find the living water that Jesus talked about. And on it goes, as Peter, Pilate, and others ask Jesus questions that in turn give him a chance to teach the truth that he has come to reveal. But of all of the questions in John's Gospel, the ones that are asked in today's reading may just be the hardest to answer. For a bit of context, at this point in the story, it's Thursday evening, the night before Jesus' crucifixion. In John's account, Jesus not only knows that he will soon leave this world, but he also tries to prepare his disciples for the events that are about to happen. He knows that this will be a really hard, incredibly challenging time for them, and so he begins with words that are intended to bring them comfort. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Wait, what? The disciples must have asked. Don't let our hearts be troubled? Are you absolutely kidding us? You've just told us that you're going to die. And most of us, I think, can intuitively understand what they're going through and how Jesus' words must have missed the mark, because each one of us has had those moments too, when our hearts were not only deeply troubled, but downright disturbed and even anguish. And so in response, the disciples do what comes naturally. They ask questions. I've noticed that I do that quite a bit. I think a lot of us do. When we're struggling to make sense of things or when we feel overwhelmed by our circumstances, we often turn to questions. Why is this happening? Who is doing this? Why did she or he die so young? How did this happen? Why don't you love me anymore? And yet Jesus asks his disciples not just to believe in him, but to trust him, to commit their futures to him. And then before you know it, he moves on. He talks about going away, about preparing places, and about coming back. As if to add insult to injury, he implies that they should know what he's talking about. He actually says that they know the way to follow. To which Thomas, brave, realistic, amazing Thomas, asks more questions. But Jesus, we don't even know where you're going. How can we know the way? And Jesus' answer misses the mark once more, telling them that he is the way and the truth and the life, and that anyone who knows him will know God the Father. He asks again that they trust him, but Philip can stand it no longer. Philip asks the one question that no faithful Jew should ever ask. And really, it's almost more of a statement a request, a plea, maybe even a demand. But underneath it all, I think, is a question. Show us the Father, Philip says, and we will be satisfied. Or to put it more directly, what does God look like? It's an audacious, even inappropriate question. But again, I think most of us can understand where it came from, because each of us has been there too. We've been at our wits' end, desperate for some hope that things will get better, desperate for some reason to believe that this tragedy is not all that there is. Maybe it was when the doctor told you that the cancer had returned, or when a loved one died unexpectedly, or when you discovered that your beloved has left, or after one more miscarriage, or the wildfires, or the pandemic, or the recent shootings in Nova Scotia, or add in whatever. Each of us, you see, has also had moments where we wanted some reassurance, some glimmer of hope, that all that we had heard and learned about God is not just some wild and fake story, but true. Just show us God, we plea, and we will be satisfied. And Jesus' answer to them and to us, have you been with me so long and still you do not know me? His answer, I think, is less about his own frustration than it is really an attempt to reorient the question. Notice that Thomas and Philip ask questions about what Jesus is saying. Where are you going? Can we see the Father? And behind both of these, I suspect, is another more primal, really hard question. Why? Why are you leaving? Why can't we go along? Why is this happening? And in response, Jesus offers not so much an answer as he offers himself. The question of why is a really important question. It gives voice to our deep need to understand, to comprehend, and to try to make sense of things. But it's also often quite difficult, if not impossible, to answer. What should Jesus say to them? Should he offer them a pat answer as an explanation? Or perhaps he should try to give an analysis of God's will in simple terms that maybe, just maybe, they could understand it. Or perhaps he should describe the complex and profound love that motivates his actions. Would any of these have made any sense or lessened the grief that the disciples were feeling? So instead of trying to answer the why question, Jesus answers their question with who. He's the one who loves them. He's the one who in turn makes demonstrably clear God the Father's love. He's the one that they have known. He's the one that they can trust. He's the one who will do what they ask and provide them with what they need. Sometimes we want answers, even as what we really need is relationship. For me, that's what I find so meaningful about trying to follow in the way of Jesus. That no matter what questions I may have, in spite of my many doubts, whatever the unknowns that I may face, in the midst of them all, I believe God is there. As our statement of faith within the United Church of Canada states so well, we are not alone, and we trust in God. This passage reminds me that we are invited into a relationship with God that may not answer all of our questions, but ultimately surpasses them all through relationship. Thanks be to God. Amen.